from 2014. It is Patriots Day in the USA, and time to remember why we are at war with terror. It is also an election year for U.S. Congress. 2 years ago, in another election year, Obama was dancing with Beyonce and unable to be contacted when his personal pick for Libyan ambassador was calling for help over a terrorist hit. Sadly, Hilary Clinton was on hand to deny aid and give weapons to ISIS forces without interference from special forces. Clinton and Rice blamed an Egyptian Coptic filmmaker, even pointing him out to terrorists as a reason for the attack. The White House had been in election mode and had claimed Al-Qaeda was no more as an international force. When Romney referred to it in debate, media mugged him for Obama. A year later, Obama had wanted to bomb Syria in favor of ISIS. Russia said no, and so the White House favored an illegitimate government in Ukraine, which forced Moscow to claim their own naval dockyard and brought ethnic tensions to the surface in Ukraine, which resulted in MH17. Obama needs to project strength if he is to get a Congress that will work to his agenda, but who feels that such a Congress would be worthwhile. As Bill Clinton showed, a hostile Congress can get good bills past an incompetent president. It is Patriot Day and worth remembering victims of 9/11. An Australian wife of a victim at the World Trade Center has opened the door to his room for the first time since that day. Their child is teaching at a high school. It is worse than a life interrupted. They're all the blessings of a life together and a growth together, the nesting, the aims for a future, and it was all denied forever. It was terror, but many Islamic leaders have claimed it was Islam which committed the atrocity. In the Middle East, people are recorded cheering the atrocity. Saddam Hussein in Iraq paid money to suicide bombers after the event. There was, as then President Bush noted, an axis of evil. People claiming that there was a purpose to the evil, twisting a knife into families of victims, and the cause at the root is no different from that which Israel had defended herself from her beginning as a modern state. Terror has changed us in the West, but the legacy of what has made the West great is still there. Left-wing discourse on the issue is very wide of the mark and looks flaky because of it. War for oil? We need to be humble. We need to own our mistakes. We need to want to be free. We need to fight for our treasure. The soldiers that fought for America in World War II are correctly referred to as the greatest generation. But what will they call those who, in the face of terrorism, got confused? For 13 years since 9/11, activists have failed to explain what happened in their discourse of why things happen. ABC continue to oppose Australia in war. Australia has a proud history in war, but not perfect. The ABC view seems oppositional, one-sided, corrosive, misguided, and contrary to their charter. Meanwhile, opposition leader Shorten has tried to torpedo a $20 billion submarine deal with Japan, which might force a bad $40 billion deal with people who cannot produce excellent vehicles with equivalent speed. No doubt, Shorten will be excused for any digger that dies as a result of his bad speech. The Lynn family murders were horrible and so far not fully explained. A relative is facing court in relation to the killings. They had custody of a survivor who had been absent at the time of the killings. The survivor, a young female, is allegedly sexually abused by her subsequent guardian, which others feel could be a motive. The child survivor has not done anything wrong and deserves much better than what she has so far been given in life. But many things are unfair, presaging the Pistorius verdict. Lee Sales on ABC 730 report calls Pistorius a fallen hero. The judge at trial has presaged the verdict by taking on board serious issues raised by the defense. He has been found not guilty of murder. One can still hope for a custodial sentence and disgrace related to his behavior. ICAC has heard how a $20,000 check from a banned donor developer did not go directly to the Liberal Party, but instead went to what they called a slush fund. So the ICAC does not think slush funds are appropriate. Under what circumstances might they be? Still, the ICAC has no evidence of corruption. Injustice has no end. Aboriginal children are suffering from racist myths just as 1,400 children of Rotherham have. Racism needs to be opposed, but it isn't being opposed rationally by laws that claim to, like 18C. Nobody has proposed a better defense than a free press to safeguard Western nations from corruption. But the press have a strong left-wing agenda and are weak, not free, and the suppression of free speech has resulted in the abuse detailed in the top end of Australia and Rotherham, in numbers that would not be tolerated were the news known and not censored by race. An Australian detective is working to protect children from pedophiles in Southeast Asia. He has sacrificed everything to do so after being on holiday and approached by a pimp with an offer. In Australia, Federal Border Protection and Immigration Minister Morrison has done a brilliant job to date, but deserved to be given access to temporary protection visas to do even better. A child of a newly arrived Afghan couple has died after falling into a creek at a barbecue. 3 years old, surviving a harsh journey only to fall in a tragic accident. Fright bats of the media are lying and feeding a false narrative of the world. They trip up on facts, but their fans don't notice or defend them. One statistic that fails the anti-government rhetoric is the unemployment statistic that has over 120,000 employed recently, but no reason for it. There was a chilling statistic recently suggesting unemployment rose for no reason too. One explained fact gets accepted by the anti-government rabble, another is rejected from the same source, suggesting it is the narrative that is wrong. There are difficult jobs like that of cabinet minister for the stool of a king, but what about jobs done for free, unpaid, out of love? Google has such a wonderful permanent frat party aspect for her workers, so that some don't bother having homes. A solar storm approaches Australia, but we will survive. Ebola has been reported as not being in Australia after a sick person complained it might be. Self-diagnosis is fraught.